Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, host and head bookologist here at the Get Literate podcast. I'm a book loving, notebook hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of books and reading and notebooks and writing to make life better and to feel better too. You'll find episodes exploring the reading and writing life and how it can make our actual lives better. You'll get book recommendations and notebook invitations around particular themes, and you'll meet authors and special guests who'll help us take inspired action in our own daily practices. So, grab a notebook and your TBR list, and let's get literate. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Get Literate podcast. I'm Stephanie, and I am here with what is likely going to go down as one of my favorite episodes ever. Why? Well, I am here to give you the entire scoop on my very first in-person restorative reading retreat. You are going to hear about why a one-day reading retreat is essential, what makes a restorative reading retreat different than a so-called regular reading retreat. We'll talk about the schedule we kept, the best bookish snack bags ever, the little creative touches I planted throughout the day, and the really fun wooey way we ended too. I was all sorts of lit up from this day, and now the only thing I want to do is repeat it again and again and again in different locations with different bookstores and with different Get Literate listeners. So stay here until the end because I'll give you a little sneak peek into what might be next for a restorative reading retreat near you. Okay, so I have been dreaming of hosting my own reading retreat for a long time. If you are inside my Get Literate Substack community, you know that I have tried to pull something together for a while, something that could help us to meet in person and enjoy some bookish fun. I always got bogged down in the details, where to have it, when to have it, all of those things that make coordinating between multiple members and multiple time zones and multiple states difficult. So I decided to just take a different approach and say, I need a practice run. Let me host a reading retreat that is close to me, that is just one day, that will help me figure out all I need to figure out in hopes of bringing a larger retreat to my community. So I was thinking of it as a mini retreat of sorts. But quite honestly, I now feel like I have found the jackpot of all reading retreats. And that's what I want to talk about today. So, full disclaimer, I have never been on a reading retreat before. Never. I've wanted to. I've looked at beautiful websites talking about reading retreats. I have watched Instagram reels on reading retreats, and I have never brought myself to click register. Why? Well, I don't know, all sorts of reasons, all sorts of excuses, I guess you should say. Oh, I'm too busy. Oh, the kids. Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, I can't possibly get away overnight. Right? All excuses that I have made up myself and put in my own way. But whether they are true or not, I have just never been on a reading retreat. And so when I was creating this retreat, I really wanted to make a reading retreat that I would say yes to. And if I was going to say yes to a reading retreat, then it needed to be local. So I kept it near me. It needed to just be one day and not an overnight. So that's what I did. And it couldn't be too expensive because I'm kind of cheap. And so that's what I did as well. So this first ever for me and first ever hosting reading retreat was all of the things that if I could or would say yes to a reading retreat for, that was what I made. So the reading retreat was at a beautiful, beautiful women's resort on Lake George, New York. It went from 9 in the morning until 7 p.m. And we had beautiful lunches, dinners, stretches of reading, and all sorts of bookish fun in between. Now, personally, I think the one day reading retreat is the way to go. I think it's the way to go because it works. It's easy to say yes to, and that you don't need to get away for the whole weekend. It's easy to say yes to because even the most stressed of us could probably find one day to figure out what to do with the kids and our responsibilities and everything else going on. And it's just enough time to settle in, but not too long where you feel like you're too taken out of your regular life. So for me, the 1 day retreat was essential. And from what I found hosting the 1 day retreat, I really feel like it was a perfect amount of time. Now, if you wanted to, you could continue that retreat at the retreat house that we were at. And some people actually did stay over and keep their stay going. Or you could go home and you could keep that retreat-like feeling going for as long as you want. But I felt like that 1 day retreat was the jackpot for me. And now every retreat I offer in the future, I'm pretty sure it's going to be one long day to make it as accessible as possible to people in the area. Now, how was my retreat different than other reading retreats? Well, I've done a lot of research on reading retreats and how they work. And the thing is, they're all different. Some of them are more camp-like, where it's women getting together around books, but you might not be doing as much reading. You might be doing fun things like creating friendship bracelets or playing book trivia. Other retreats are long stretches of reading and not much time for community in between because the idea is that you rest and you read, and maybe there's some other wellness practices associated with the retreat location. A restorative reading retreat, you know me, you know I love my restorative reading, is a retreat where we privilege three things. And those three things are our reading habits, our reading hearts, and our reading communities. You know, that is my three-pronged framework that was in my book, Leading Literate Lives, and it's weaved into everything I do. So I wanted this restorative reading retreat to feel restorative. I wanted people to walk away feeling better than when they left because they engaged in long stretches of reading habits. They were reading books that were chosen especially for them, hearts, and they were given opportunities to come together as readers and to talk about the books, the quotes they were collecting, and the ideas and nudges they were getting from the pages. Community. So if you know me and you know my love of restorative reading, those elements were woven throughout the day. Now we did have a schedule. Okay, I did put a little type A Stephanie onto the day, but here was the thing. It was completely optional. If readers wanted to show up at 9 a.m. and then go disappear on the property somewhere with the book that was especially chosen for them and come back at 7 p.m. and say goodbye, that was okay. But if they wanted the full experience, then the schedule helps them pace their reading, their habits, their hearts, their communities. So here's what our schedule looked like. Arrival was at 9 o'clock, as I mentioned. And at 9 o'clock, we all sat around a table that had been set with books and set with the schedule and looked all sorts of beautiful, waiting for everyone to arrive. When everyone was there, we started with introductions. We gave our name, where we were from, and we had to finish this sentence stem. I'm the kind of reader who, dot, 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 just to give us an idea of the kinds of readers we were keeping company with. So I'm the kind of reader who would never get caught dog-earing a book. I'm the kind of reader who prefers to read physical books over audiobooks. I'm the kind of reader who can only read one book at a time. Or I'm the kind of reader who reads the last page first and then reads the rest of this book. I kid you not, a reader said that. She was lovely, but I was a tad horrified by that admission. But it all brought us together talking about our own preferences. Now, from that quick introduction and the building of a reader community, we moved into unwrapping our books. This is what I was so excited for. Before the retreat, Everyone shared with me a little bit about themselves, about their reading life, and what they were hoping to get out of the retreat. So, just like I love creating book apothecaries for other people, if you were coming to the retreat, you were getting a specially chosen book for you from me based on the interactions we had before the retreat day. So when you walked up to that table, you saw lots of books, all wrapped up in craft paper in that really cool pocketed way, so that your little marginalia gifts, right? Your reading annotation tools, I stuffed them in. So everyone got a page of stickers, a page of emoticon stickers, a pencil, a sticky note, an oversized paperclip bookmark, and a couple of stickers. It just made for such a beautiful presentation and great fun for unwrapping a book that was especially chosen for you to be restorative. Now, after we unwrapped, we went one by one by one, and I gave a little book talk for each of the books. What happened? The person with the book was excited, but the rest of us got to add some restorative reading titles to our TBR list as well. Now, after that, book in hand, came our first stretch of reading. And we had multiple stretches of reading that were about an hour and a half to 2 hours throughout the day. We went everywhere. This is a beautiful property. Some of us read by the garden, some of us read by the docks, some of us read in these little teeny tiny hiding places that were all around the property. And it was such a beautiful day for reading. Now, after about an hour and a half of reading, there was some optional chair yoga before we went to lunch. Now, yes, you know that I am a yoga teacher, and I knew that we would all be sitting in these contorted reading positions for most of the day. So we had about a 20-minute yoga session that just re-energized us, opened up our neck, our shoulders, our back, and really helped us stretch out before it was time for a delicious lunch. Now, here at this retreat house, they literally ring the lunch bell so that everyone everywhere knows that it's time to come grab your lunch and then go settle in wherever you would like to eat it. Now, some of us ate together, some of us paired up with our new bookish friends, and we had separate conversations. But we came back after lunch before we were ready to move into the afternoon, and we just shared some bookish conversation. How is your book going? Were you reading the title that I provided? Did you bring any other books with you? We just touched base on the kind of reading that we accomplished in the morning before lunch. But after lunch, when it was time to come back to our long table, it was time to create a Florilegia collection. Now, I've talked about Florilegia on the podcast before. It's basically a journal that collects the quotes that speak to you while you are reading. The sacred collection of quotes that is just yours. So I passed out some brand new journals. I passed out Sharpies, I passed out gel pens, and I made a road of stickers down the middle of the long rectangular table. And by road of stickers, I literally mean a road of stickers. You can take a peek on the pictures in the show notes if you'd like to see. So we decorated our journals, we skimmed through our books that we read in the morning, and we added quotes that we loved. The plan was to keep adding to that and to come back and share later in the afternoon. Now, here was the most fun part. Before I sent everyone off for their afternoon stretch of reading, I needed to send them with a little bit of reinforcements, snacks. This was the most fun. So here's what I did. I got a book that was old. Definitely, no books were harmed in the creation of these snack bags, but I got an old book and I took out those old pages and I folded them up and turned them into snack bags. Now, the real tutorial online said to go ahead and sew the book pages together on the sides to make it nice and reinforced. I don't really have those kind of skills and materials, so me and my hot glue gun created our snack bags and they worked just as well. What did I fill them with? A reading survival kit, of course. So in every snack bag, there was a Kit Kat for when you need a break after reading so many pages. There was a Snickers bar for when the protagonist's bad decisions made you hangry. There were Smarties because, you're the genius who always figures out the end before anyone else. There was a mint to keep your breath fresh and your mind sharp while you are reading. There were peanut butter cups for when chocolate and peanut butter were the only love stories you could trust. And one of my favorites, there was a bag of Skittles to taste the rainbow of emotions that your book was putting you through. So everyone got a lovely bookish snack bag with each one of those candies inside. And then there was a snack bar set up so that you could go and refill with your favorites. So armed with the book, armed with a blank Florilegia collection and a snack bag full of goodies, we went off to our second stretch of reading. For those that wanted a break, about an hour and a half or so later, we came back to the table for some bookish discussion. We updated each other on our books and we shared some of our most favorite quotes. This is also when I gave some extra special book recommendations. I was lucky enough to pair up with Stephanie from the Book Cabin here in Lake George, New York. I had books I wanted to recommend to this particular group of women. And based on those recommendations, she created her own set of recommendations. So we had a table full of books that literally were specifically chosen for the group that was in front of us. So one by one, I book talked those books throughout the day, but spent some extra special time in those book recommendations in between our stretches of reading. So after a little bit more book talking, and thankfully, after selling some books for Stephanie, we had another stretch of reading. This was a nice long stretch to wrap up what was becoming one of my most favorite days ever. So that stretch of reading led right up to the dinner bell. And in that dinner time, again, some people sat together, some scattered, some ate dinner by themselves and continued to read their books. And when dinner was done, we came back for one final closure. What was that final fun closure? It was a discussion and the pulling of a TBR tarot card. Yes, so there is a wonderful shop on Etsy that has these very adorable TBR tarot cards, to be read tarot cards. And the idea was that we ran around the table one by one, and we each pulled our own tarot cards. Because after all, you're supposed to hold your own tarot deck when you're pulling your own card. So they got the tarot, they shuffled them up in their hands, and they chose one. And when they read what that tarot card said, that was what they were recommended to read next. So it could have been a genre with a propulsive plot. It could have been a book with a twister of an ending. It could have been a book that was an author's debut. There were all sorts of different possibilities, and it was just a fun way to figure out what we might keep reading next once the retreat was over. After that, all that was left was to gather up all our bookish supplies that we now had and take an optional photo, which thankfully lots of us joined in on. It was such a beautiful recap to the day. But there was one more thing we did that was scattered throughout whenever someone needed a break. So at the beginning of the day, I urged readers to collect evidence of where they had been. What in the world does that mean? That means if you laid out your towel on a patch of grass, then you pulled a couple of grass blades. It means if you read by the garden, you picked up a couple of flower petals that may have already fallen on the ground. Or maybe if you read at the dock and down by the beach, you grabbed some grains of beach sand. What did we do with them? Well, I had a special section of the table set up for bookmark making. So you would grab a white bookmark, you would arrange all of the natural elements that you collected, put down the colorful, what is that called? Like contact paper, clear contact paper on top, seal it up nicely, and then you trim the edges and put the little tassel on the top, writing on the back the location and the date of our retreat so that whenever you were reading a book with this bookmark, you would remember how wonderful the day had been. Honestly, this day could not have gone better for me. It was so restorative. It was so uplifting. It was so much fun. And now I have a bigger set of readers that I can connect to and with. As I said in the beginning of the episode, I want to do this again and again and again. And that actually is my plan. So I already have the fall reading retreat set. I'm still working on which the final location is, but just know if you are in upstate New York, if you're in Vermont, if you are in the Massachusetts area, this would be doable for you for a 1-day restorative reading retreat. I'm going to pair up with a local independent bookstore in the area so that we can also have books that speak to the participants. And yes, a bibliotherapy session comes along with the retreat so that you can have a surprise book waiting for you as well. It is my hope to do one of these across every season. It is my hope to connect with a Get Literate listener in every spot that we go to. And again, it's my hope to connect with an independent bookstore to bring the books to everyone in the community. I feel like this is the next most funnest thing I could do. And I know funnest isn't a word, but it just felt right to say. If you're listening and you went to this retreat, thank you so much for being a part of it. If you're listening and you want to go to the next retreat, then make sure you are on my email list. You can head to the show notes and sign up at alitlife.com, or you could go to Substack, look me up there, and sign up on that email list. Either way, I promise to release the details of the next restorative reading retreat to come in just a couple of weeks so that you can get ready and you can plan. I hope this episode lit you up as much as it lit me up recapping the event. And here's the thing, even if you can't get to a 1-day reading retreat, you now know how you could create it for yourself at home. A little bit different, yes, but still just as much fun, giving yourself the time and attention that your reading life deserves. Thanks for listening, everyone. And if you have ideas for me, if you have a city I should come to, a bookstore I should partner with, or even a bookish idea that I could insert into the schedule, I'd love to hear about it. You know where to find me: email, social media, show notes, or the audio reply button. Send me your ideas and let's see how we might be able to bring them to life together. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'll see you in the next episode and perhaps at the next restorative reading retreat. See you next time. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned on the episode in the show notes and at alitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to join my Substack community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, bibliotherapy book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking inspiration, live events, giveaways, and much more. It's only $5 a month, and you'll get instant access to all of the previous content, too. You can learn more at getliterate.co. And one more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a bookish friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish and notebookish communities too. Thanks for listening.